That's silly.
Look at all your snack options.
Backpacks by the front door, crumbs on the kitchen floor. You laugh as
A devastating fire broke out late at night in a densely populated residential area, turning what was once a peaceful neighborhood into a scene of panic, destruction, and heartbreak. Witnesses described the terrifying moment when flames suddenly erupted from one side of the house before spreading rapidly throughout the entire building within minutes. The victims, believed to be a middle-class family living in the area for many years, were trapped in chaos as neighbors desperately tried to help while thick black smoke covered the sky. Local residents screamed for assistance as people rushed out of their homes carrying children, elderly family members, and valuable belongings in an attempt to escape the growing danger. According to nearby residents, the fire started shortly after midnight when most people were asleep. Some claimed they first heard a loud electrical explosion before seeing sparks and flames coming from the upper floor of the house. Others reported smelling burning wires moments before the blaze became uncontrollable. Due to the narrow roads and crowded surroundings, emergency vehicles faced serious difficulties entering the area quickly. By the time firefighters arrived at the location, the flames had already consumed a major portion of the house, forcing rescue workers to focus on preventing the fire from spreading to nearby buildings. Eyewitnesses became emotional while describing the suffering of the affected family. One elderly neighbor said the family had been struggling financially for months and had only recently repaired parts of their damaged home after heavy seasonal storms. He added that the family members were known as kind and hardworking people who maintained strong relationships with everyone in the neighborhood. Another local resident stated that hearing the cries of the children trapped inside the smoke-filled house was one of the most heartbreaking experiences of his life. Several young men from the community reportedly risked their lives by entering parts of the burning structure in an attempt to rescue those trapped inside before firefighters fully arrived. As the fire intensified, electric lines near the building began sparking dangerously, increasing fear among the residents. Authorities immediately disconnected electricity from nearby homes to reduce the risk of further explosions or additional fires. Families living beside the affected building evacuated the area in fear that the flames might spread rapidly through connected rooftops and closely built structures. Some residents were seen pouring water from buckets while others used blankets and sand in desperate attempts to slow down the fire before professional rescue teams took control of the operation. Fire service officials later confirmed that multiple units were deployed to the scene after receiving emergency calls from frightened residents. Firefighters battled the blaze for several hours under extremely difficult conditions due to intense heat, heavy smoke, and limited access to water sources in the area. Rescue workers wore oxygen masks while searching through the damaged rooms to ensure no one remained trapped inside the building. Ambulances were also stationed nearby as injured individuals received emergency treatment for smoke inhalation, burns, and shock caused by the traumatic incident. Local authorities began an immediate investigation into the possible cause of the fire. Preliminary reports suggested that an electrical short circuit may have triggered the disaster, though officials stated that a complete forensic examination would be necessary before reaching a final conclusion. Investigators carefully inspected burnt electrical wiring, household appliances, and gas connections inside the destroyed home. Experts warned that old wiring systems and overloaded electrical connections remain a serious danger in many residential areas, especially where homes are built close together without proper safety measures. The emotional impact of the tragedy spread rapidly across social media after videos and photos from the scene went viral online. Footage showed massive flames rising into the night sky while desperate residents cried for help and firefighters worked tirelessly to control the situation. Many users expressed sorrow and sympathy for the affected family, while others criticized poor urban safety planning and the lack of emergency preparedness in crowded residential zones. Community members also began organizing fundraising efforts to support the victims who lost their home, belongings, and important documents in the fire. Several local volunteers arrived at the scene early in the morning carrying food, water, clothing, and blankets for the displaced family members. Religious leaders and social organizations offered temporary shelter and emotional support to those affected by the disaster. One volunteer stated that tragedies like this remind people of the importance of unity during difficult times. He explained that many residents stayed awake throughout the night to assist firefighters, comfort children, and help elderly victims cope with the trauma they had experienced. Authorities later confirmed that parts of the building became structurally unsafe due to severe fire damage. Engineers warned residents not to enter the property until a full safety assessment could be completed. Large sections of the roof reportedly collapsed during the fire, while walls inside the building suffered extensive cracks caused by extreme temperatures. Rescue teams continued searching through debris to recover valuable items and determine the full extent of the destruction. Local officials promised that affected residents would receive emergency assistance and support as recovery efforts continued. The heartbreaking incident has once again raised serious concerns regarding fire safety awareness, emergency response systems, and building regulations in residential communities. Safety experts emphasize the importance of regular electrical inspections, proper emergency exits, and access routes for rescue vehicles. Many residents admitted they had never participated in any fire safety training or evacuation drills before the tragedy occurred. Community leaders are now urging authorities to improve infrastructure and create stronger awareness programs to prevent similar disasters in the future. As daylight slowly revealed the full extent of the destruction, the once lively neighborhood stood silent under a heavy atmosphere of grief and disbelief. Burnt furniture, shattered glass, twisted metal, and blackened walls were scattered across the remains of the destroyed house. Smoke continued rising from parts of the structure even hours after firefighters managed to control the flames. Residents gathered around the area in shock, many unable to hold back tears as they looked at the devastation left behind. Children stood beside their parents watching rescue workers search through the debris while police officers secured the surroundings to prevent accidents and unauthorized entry. Family members affected by the fire were seen sitting on the roadside wrapped in blankets, emotionally devastated after losing nearly everything they owned. According to relatives, important documents, savings, clothing, furniture, school materials, and household valuables were completely destroyed in the blaze. One relative stated that the family had spent years building their small home with hard work and sacrifice. He added that within only a few hours, those dreams were reduced to ashes. Several women from nearby homes comforted the victims, while volunteers distributed food and drinking water throughout the morning. Medical officials confirmed that multiple individuals were treated for injuries related to burns and smoke inhalation. Among the injured were elderly residents who experienced breathing difficulties after inhaling thick smoke during the chaos. Local hospital authorities reported that some victims remained under observation due to trauma and respiratory complications. Doctors explained that fire disasters often leave long-term psychological effects on survivors, especially children who witness terrifying scenes involving flames, screams, and destruction. Counselors and support workers later arrived to assist traumatized family members and nearby residents struggling emotionally after the incident. Witnesses continued sharing emotional accounts of the terrifying night. One teenage resident described hearing desperate cries for help moments after the fire spread across the second floor of the building. He explained that many neighbors immediately rushed outside without understanding the seriousness of the situation until flames became visible from nearby rooftops. Another witness claimed that some residents attempted to break windows and doors using metal rods in order to rescue trapped victims before firefighters arrived. Several community members suffered minor injuries while trying to help others escape from the burning structure. The narrow streets surrounding the neighborhood once again became a major topic of public criticism after emergency responders reportedly faced delays reaching the scene. Residents complained that illegally parked vehicles and poorly planned roads created dangerous obstacles during rescue efforts. Some locals accused authorities of repeatedly ignoring warnings about safety risks in crowded residential areas. Community leaders stated that many neighborhoods continue expanding without proper emergency access routes, increasing the danger during fires, earthquakes, or other sudden disasters. Urban planning experts also stress the urgent need for stronger enforcement of building regulations and emergency preparedness systems. Fire service officials held a press briefing later in the day, providing additional details regarding the operation. According to authorities, firefighters fought continuously for several hours before finally bringing the blaze under control. Officials praised the bravery of rescue personnel who entered dangerous sections of the building despite collapsing ceilings and extreme heat. One senior officer stated that firefighters risk their lives during every emergency operation and often work under severe pressure to save as many people as possible. He also confirmed that investigators were collecting evidence from the scene to determine the exact origin of the fire. Investigators reportedly focused heavily on the possibility of faulty electrical wiring inside the home. Experts explained that overloaded circuits, damaged cables, and unauthorized electrical modifications remain among the leading causes of residential fires in many urban areas. Initial examinations revealed signs of severe electrical damage near the upper section of the building where witnesses first noticed flames. However, officials emphasized that all possibilities, including gas leaks and appliance malfunctions, would be carefully examined before the investigation concludes. Authorities also plan to interview residents and review any available security camera footage from nearby buildings. The tragedy quickly became one of the most discussed topics across social media platforms and local news channels. Videos recorded by residents showed horrifying scenes of flames shooting through windows while frightened families screamed in panic. Many viewers expressed anger over repeated safety failures and demanded stricter enforcement of fire prevention measures nationwide. Others shared emotional messages supporting the affected family and praising local volunteers for their courage during the emergency. Several humanitarian organizations announced fundraising campaigns to assist the victims with temporary shelter, medical costs, and rebuilding support. Religious institutions and local charities also stepped forward to provide immediate relief assistance. Temporary accommodation was arranged for displaced family members who had nowhere to stay after losing their home. Volunteers collected donations including clothing, medicine, food supplies, and educational materials for children affected by the disaster. Teachers from nearby schools reportedly contacted the family to ensure students would receive support continuing their education despite the tragedy. As evening approached, candles were lit near the destroyed home by residents mourning the tragedy and showing solidarity with the affected family. Many people stood silently praying for the victims and thanking rescue workers for their efforts throughout the dangerous operation. Emotional scenes unfolded as neighbors embraced one another while discussing how quickly ordinary life had turned into disaster overnight. The heartbreaking fire left deep scars on the community, reminding residents how fragile safety can be when proper precautions are ignored. Authorities promised continued support for the victims while investigations and recovery efforts remained ongoing.